everybody. Welcome to a Monday live stream as we near Christmas. It's hard to believe Christmas is almost here. Again, I feel like I just was having Christmas, but you know what? I'll take it. I love this time of year. I would just like to welcome you all to a Monday live stream. This will be the Monday live stream, I think the last Monday live stream before Christmas, but we're going to try and live stream a few more times this week since we're kind of on the down slope towards Christmas. So we're going to have some fun last-ish minute projects for you, or some things you can work on for yourself over the holiday. I know we spend a lot of time making things for people leading up to the holiday, but there's also that lovely, beautiful time between Christmas and New Year's when you can maybe actually sit and do some things for yourself, which is what I like to do. So today, we're going to start the whole thing with turning our Sunburst baby blanket pattern. We have a free written pattern for this blanket pattern over on our website, and the link to that's in the description box down below. Plus the link to the original tutorial is down there too. But I wanted to turn this into a table centerpiece. I need a centerpiece for my round dining table, and we have recommended turning this into a doily to people for literally years at this point. And just before we got going, I was working on a thread version of this, and I saw Masha in the stream already. I thought she would appreciate this. So this is a thread version of our Sunburst baby blanket. Let me just pull out the points here. That if you wanted to try this in thread, this is what it looks like. I'm just working, I'm kind of working on my 8th row. I haven't quite finished it, but this is about an hour's worth of work. That's a 2.25 millimeter or a B hook, so 2 millimeter, 2.25, that's fine. And I'm using a size 10 crochet thread. So there's the crochet thread, mercerized cotton, obviously. So I'm going to work away at that a little bit over the holiday, but I thought I would show it to you what it looks like in thread. But today I'm actually going to do a bigger version for my table in a size 4 medium weight, 100% mercerized cotton. I'm going to use DK, or I should say 24/7, the size 4 version from Lion Brand. This is that, it's just such nice cotton. It makes nice, pretty things for the table. So that's what I'm going to use today, but I wanted to show you the lace version that I'm going to be working on my own. It's so hard to see lace, in my opinion, through the camera, so I thought I would just show you that, but I'm going to do a bigger version. Before we get going, though, I would like to thank Nico. Nico's in the house. She had a membership milestone earlier. Nico has been a member for several months now. Goodness me, 22. Thank you. Hi, Nico. Glad you're back. I'd like to say hello to Caroline, member for 52 months. She has a membership milestone saying, "Season's greetings, everyone." I second that. So let's get going, everybody. That, like I said, is the thread version of the pattern. I'm going to leave that, you know what, I might just finish that row because my OCD is kicking in and I just feel like I can't stare at a partly finished row. So this is row 8 of the pattern. Like I said, the pattern is free. We have a written version of it on our website. The link is in the description. The link to the original tutorial is also in the description box, but I'm going to basically start this thing all over from scratch using size 4, medium weight, 100% mercerized cotton yarn. It's the 24/7 by Lion Brand because I really like that. Now, there I go. I'm just finishing off that row, and here's the top of my chain 3. And that was my 4th row of green, so I'm going to actually cut it, which lets me, there, finish on a high note. There, not done, but that is 8 rows so far of that pattern. Hi, Sarah. Sarah's been a member for 13 months. Sarah's in the house. She says, "This is so perfect. Happy holidays." Happy holidays. Nothing like a pretty little something for your table. And really, this doesn't take very long. You don't have to do it the full size of the blanket, obviously, because this is just for your table. Now, that's the first 8 rows in thread, and that's already a pretty decent size. Let's grab my yarn, so already 8 rows in thread from one point to the next is 6.5 inches across. So already that's a pretty nice little doily size. And that is using the thread in a size 2 millimeter or 2.25 millimeter hook. So that's how big that goes. Obviously, it's going to be probably double or a little bit more than double when I get going with the cotton. So let's do that. I had pulled out 2 hooks. Nico, I see you. Gifting Ninja Nico in the house. Thank you, Nico. Nico has just Merry Christmas gifted 5 memberships. Congratulations, Amanda, March Wind, what a pretty name, Sinan, hi Jennifer, Cecilia, and Marina. Congratulations. Welcome to and welcome back to the family. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much, Nico. In the original version of this pattern, we used a 4.25 millimeter hook and a size 4 medium weight yarn, but it was a size, more like a size 3 lightweight baby yarn. So because I'm upsizing today, I pulled out a couple hooks. I thought I might start with the 4.5 millimeter, but now that I'm sitting here kind of looking at it and thinking about it, I think I'm actually going to go with the H8. So let me just see if I can find my H8. There it is. 5 millimeter. So H8, because I want to crochet not so tightly, and this is a nice stiff yarn. So I'm actually going to go with the H8 hook. So if you're using thread, 2 millimeter or 2.25 millimeter, highly recommend. Pair of scissors, yarn needle. If you're going to use the size 4 mercerized 24/7 cotton, I'm going to go with the H, the 5 millimeter hook today. I'm going to start, let's see, red, white, green. Is that a nice red, white, green? I'm going to start with red. And let's go. Okay, you can start this with a cinch circle. I am starting with a cinch circle. If that gives you sort of like the heebie-jeebies, you can chain 5 and join with a slip stitch to make a ring. But I like the tiny little difficult to see or a non-existent center. I like that solid looking center. So I'm going to use the cinch circle today. I'm actually going to just keep that on. Hi, Becky. Becky's been a member for 5 months. Hi, Becky. Becky says, I need something for my table. How perfect. Happy Monday, everybody. Yes. And you know what? This really doesn't take too long because you don't have to make it gigantic. You can make it a table's cloth size if you want. You just keep repeating the pattern, which I'll explain in a minute. Or you can make it, you know, doily sized. You can make it centerpiece size. You can make it as big as you want. Crocus, I saw her at the very beginning before we got going, mention something about the making it into a tree skirt. Yes, we have a tree skirt version of this where it's actually open on one side and it buttons up, so you can get it around your tree stand and then button it up and it looks nice. So we do have a 12-point version of this. I will link that in the description box a little later, the 12-point tree skirt version of this. Yum, yum. And here we go. Okay, I'm going to begin with the cinch circle and a chain 3. So the first chain just secures the circle. I'm going to chain 2 more. The chain 3 can count as a double crochet, so I'm going to include that as a double crochet. I'm going to work 11 double crochets into my cinch circle, and including the chain 3 that began, that will be 12 stitches. So this whole thing is a base of 12. You want to start with 12 double crochets, and the chain 3 that begins can count as a double crochet. You can also, if you wanted to, do that little thing where you put 12 actual double crochets into your cinch circle and then skip over your chain 3 if you want something that looks a little more solid. But you can also just use your chain 3. It's entirely up to you. So I think that's 12. Let me just count one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so including my chain 3, that is 12 double crochets. I'm going to cinch up the circle. There we go. And join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. So pretty standard stuff here so far. We've got a little circle going. I'm going to work over top of that short tail. I'm going to do, in the original pattern, I did stripes of color that are 4 rows deep. I'm going to stick with that because I still really like that thickness of color. And I did the same thing here. So that's 4 rows in white, 4 rows in green. And I'm going to do the same thing. 4 rows red, 4 rows white, 4 rows green, repeat. Okay, row 2, chain 3 to begin. Let's not use the short tail. Double crochet into the same stitch as joining. So you can see that right there. There's that little hole, double crochet. Now, if you want, you can use the chain 3 as a double crochet, so it counts as, or you can do the trick where you double crochet into the false stitch, this little guy right here, when you get all the way back around and skip the chain 3. I did that for here. I think I'm going to do that again but you can also just follow the pattern as we originally did it and just use the chain 3 as a double crochet. It really doesn't matter in this pattern. It's just kind of a personal preference thing. We're going to work 2 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. So we're going for a total of 24 stitches. The stitch count is important. You want 24 stitches. So 2 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Does everybody feel that they are ready for the holidays? Are you all done? Is the food shopping done? Is the list making done? Is the gift wrapping done? Is any of it done? We had a birthday on the weekend, so I feel like I'm still in birthday mode. I have not chopped up Mr. InStitches t-shirts, or for that matter socks, to turn into anything. I've actually got some old bed sheets that I've been busy turning into fabric yarn, because I want to make a big basket. I want to make a few things. I want to make a basket, I want to make a rag rug, and I want to reuse a bunch of this old, like these old sheets that, like, it's actually not even a sheet, it's the bed skirt. We got this sheet set when we got married, and it came with a bed skirt, and I feel like I'm over the bed skirt thing. That was a big thing when I was a kid in the 80s, and I don't know. I don't really want a ruffled bed skirt around I'm kind of over that. So I'm going to take this bed skirt apart and turn it into fabric yarn. So far, Mr. InStitches t-shirts are safe. Hi, Masha. Masha with a super chat. Thank you so much, Masha. Masha says, I love the thread one. I guess I'm officially thread girl. Yep. I do feel ready for Christmas, but only crochet wise, LOL. Yes. You know what? And I have to second what Victoria just said. Are we ever really ready for the holidays? No, I don't. I'm not. I am not done. I haven't finished anybody's gifts. I certainly haven't even started wrapping. I'm not even finished with the crochet yet, so. Oh, Nico's bed skirts save you from the trolls. Good point. But they don't stop your dog from roaring under the bed and then hiding, which is, don't need that. Okay, I'm all the way back around. If you want to treat your chain 3 as a double crochet, you're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the double crochet. If you want to skip it and make a more solid row, you just double crochet once into the false stitch at the base of it, and then skip over top of the chain 3, so you're ignoring it completely, and you join with a slip stitch to the first double crochet, and basically that just kind of pushes the chain 3 to the back. You have 24 stitches all the way around, and your chain 3 doesn't count, so it just creates kind of a nice solid circle. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, moving on to row 3, we're going to chain 3. We're going to skip the next stitch. So you chain 3, if you pull up, this is the stitch that you've just chained out of. You're skipping the next stitch. You're looking at the stitch after that. You're going to work double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the same stitch. And this is what we do all the way around. Now, a stitch marker might come in handy. Let me just grab one. Got a nice bright red one here. I'm going to just put a stitch marker at the top of that chain 3. You might find that handy, especially if you start really zipping around here. You're going to skip a stitch, and then double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the next stitch. So we're making these sort of long or slightly wider V stitches. Skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the next stitch. So kind of an extended, what I would call an extended V stitch. Skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the next stitch. And this is what this sets up our 12 points. So you skip a stitch, extended V stitch into the next stitch. You're going to have 12 of these extended V stitches all the way around. So you see those chain 2 spaces? You're going to have 12 of these. That's why I've just put a stitch marker on the top of the chain 3, because I'm actually going to be joining there. This row 3 basically sets us up for the rest of the 12-point repeating pattern. And rows 1 and 2 basically just give us a nice solid center, kind of grow the circle a little bit before we get into all this fancy stuff. Yes, Marie, our Canada Post is on strike. I haven't been following that information too much, but you kind of start to notice when the odd little piece of mail that you might be waiting on doesn't arrive. Most people get their bills and whatnot, bank statements. They do that all digitally now, so I don't know. I certainly hope that it gets resolved because nobody wants to be on strike, especially near the holidays, and it sucks being on strike in the winter. Once you've done that double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in a stitch, skip a stitch all the way around. You're going to work double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in the second last stitch. Skip the last stitch. This guy right here is the false stitch. We're going to ignore that. We are skipping this stitch. Actually, we are going to use it. We're going to double crochet into that false stitch, chain 2, and then join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. So let's just pause and make sure that we've got 12 points all the way around. So I'm going to put a stitch marker on that chain 2 space, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 chain 2 spaces all the way around. These chain 2 spaces are setting us up for the 12 points. And you can really see them here a few rows in. That's the 12 points that we're setting ourselves up with for row 3. Row 3 is complete. I'm going to put my stitch marker down, put my hook back in. Got some membership milestones to get to here. Hi, Bethany. Bethany has been a member for 69 months. Goodness gracious. Thank you. Bethany says, good morning. When I read the intro, I was like, I think I gave her that idea. LOL, just hanging around in the hospital for now. I hope everything's cool there, Bethany. We've been, like I think I mentioned at the beginning, we've been suggesting to people to use thread and a smaller hook to make this a doily almost since the day we put this tutorial out like 10 years ago. And I've often thought to myself, oh, I should make myself a doily of like a big doily version of that. And I still hadn't gotten around to it. So here we are on the 10th anniversary of this tutorial. It's nice to finally sit down and make something else with it. And this is going to be the table centerpiece. So yes, Bethany, you and many others have suggested making it a table centerpiece, making it into a doily, making it into all kinds of things. This is such a beautiful pattern. It really does deserve to be used over and over and over again with different media. And as Jeannie, hello, member for 46 months. Thank you so much. Says, I'd really like to do this pattern in the thread. Try it. Try it. And you can do different threads. So this is a size 10 thread, but nothing says you can't use like the 5 or the size 3 fashion weight thread and a slightly larger hook. I would go with maybe like a 3mm if you're going to use the slightly larger crochet thread. I use the 2.25, the B hook for this, and I really like the way that's looking. Hi, Regina. Regina's been a member for 11 months. Thank you. Says, would like to make this as a placemat or drink mat in cotton. Do it. Do it. Do it. I'm going to say 4 rows of this pattern would probably make a decent sized coaster. Maybe 8 rows with the size 4 cotton would make a decent sized placemat, but you know what? We'll get there and we'll find out. I have one more row in red that I'm going to do. At the end of row 3, once you've slip stitched to join the top of the chain 3, make sure you've got your 12 chain 2 spaces all the way around. We're going to slip stitch into the chain 2 space to start in the chain 2 space. And we're going to chain 3. The chain 3 does count now. From now on, the chain 3 counts. At the beginning of every row, the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Into the same chain 2 space, we're going to work another double crochet, a chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. So into the chain 2 space for this row, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. I'm actually going to put my stitch marker on the top of that chain 3 just so I can find it when I get all the way back around. And we are going to skip all stitches. We're only focusing on the chain 2 spaces in row 4. Find the next chain 2 space, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So you're only concerning yourself with the chain 2 spaces. Find the next chain 2 space, 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. So the first 6 rows of this pattern kind of get the core of this 12-point ripple, starburst, sunburst, whatever you want to call it. This is it's a pretty traditional pattern. The first 6 rows really set you up to establish that repeating pattern, and then rows 7, 8, and 9 just keep getting repeated. It's like a waltz. 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. You just keep repeating rows 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. Once you've done the first full 9 rows, you go back to 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. And then you can just repeat rows 7, 8, 9 over and over and over and over and over again. And you can end on any row you want. It doesn't have to be on row 9. It can be, you know, however many rows you need. But you want to do the first 9 rows as it's written. Then you just start repeating. But those first 6 rows of the pattern set us up for the repeats that come afterwards. So you may have come across this pattern. Like I say, it's a traditional one. You may have come across the 12-point round blanket with different versions of the center. I think you can do the center in a lot of different ways. You can do it more lacy. You can do it a little more solid. It's really, you know, up to the person kind of starting that ripple pattern, what they want to build it on. I like the way this one is built. Bethany's waiting on baby number 2. Maybe a Christmas present, early Christmas present, hopefully soon. Two double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in every chain 2 space all the way around. So you'll still have 12 of those chain 2 spaces at the end of row 4. And like I said, I'm going to do 4 rows in each color so I can get a nice wide stripe of color throughout this little. I did that in the original blanket pattern and I still really like that. You can change color every row. You can change color every 3 rows. You can just do it all in one color if you want. That's totally okay too. So into the last chain 2 space, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. That brings me back to my stitch marker, which I have conveniently located at the top of that chain 3 that began the row. I'm going to slip stitch to join, and I am changing colors. You don't have to, but I am going to do that change colors every 4 rows thing. Oh, this is already so darn pretty. And I'm going to just quickly weave tails in as I go, because I want to be, when I do the last stitch on and the last fasten off on this little table centerpiece, I want to be done. I don't want to be sitting around weaving in tails for the next hour. So weave in one way, and then I'm going to turn around and pull that tail going back the other way. There we go. Okay, so just to kind of establish that pattern, I'm going to grab my chain 2 corner or my chain 2 points, pull them all out, do a little blocking as I go. Okay, so there we go. Right off the bat, that's the first 4 rows with the 5mm H8 hook, a size 4 medium weight yarn. In this case, it's the 100% cotton mercerized 24/7. I'm going to say already, so that's 5.5 inches across or 14 centimeters in diameter already. That is a very generous drink coaster if you were going to make a set of coasters. Definitely 8 rows should give us another 8 rows would almost be the right size for, maybe the first 9 would be the perfect size for a dinner, like a placemat. But let's keep going and find out. Chris is wondering how many skeins of thread you think it would take to make a tablecloth. The thread to make a whole tablecloth? Well, it depends on how big you want to make your tablecloth, but I don't really know. How much thread is usually in? Think. I think to make a tablecloth, like I've got a standard round table from the 80s, and it's like, I don't know, I get round tablecloths that are what, 75 centimeters in is it 75 inches in diameter? It might be 75 inches in diameter. And that's a nice drape over the round table. So I think if I was going to make a version of this in that size, I'd probably want to have at least 6 of these, what I would consider a standard sized spool of the crochet thread. At least 6 in my chosen color. If I'm going to be changing colors, then maybe like 2, if you're doing 2 of each color, if you're making it 3 colors, 3 of each color, you're making it 2 colors, etc. So at least 6, that should be enough, I would think. I don't know. I've never actually made an entire full-sized tablecloth out of anything. But if I'm going to use the same kind of blanket math that I do, these go pretty far. So I'd say like 6 or 7. But if anybody else in the chat has experience in that and can help out with that answer, please weigh in. In the meantime, I'm going to grab, let's see here, there it is. I'm moving to white now, so I'm going to go red, white, green, red, white, green. That's going to be my little Christmassy repeating pattern. I'm going to join my yarn in a chain 2 space. So I like to join whenever I'm joining a yarn, I try to start in a chain 2 space. If you're not changing color and you just joined at the top of this joined at the top of the chain 3, you want to slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 3 out of it, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the next chain 2 space. So you want to continue with the pattern that way. I am going to join my yarn in the chain 2 space with a slip stitch, chain 3 counts as a double crochet, finish the chain 2 space with another double crochet, chain 2, and 2 more double crochet. So once again, I'm on row 5. We are still establishing the base of this 12-point pattern. I'm going to put my stitch marker back in. Oh, this looks so crisp already. What is it about red and white? Man, oh man, oh man. All right, I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. That's this one right here. I'm going to work over top of that little short tail, and then I'll just weave that in later. Skip the middle 2 stitches. So the middle 2 stitches, you can see there's a space between them. That's a valley. We've already established a little valley. So the chain 2 spaces are a point. They're a peak or a mountain peak. The little chain, the 2 double crochets kind of knock together into an A space, and there's a space between them. Every time you skip 2 stitches, you're creating a valley. You're creating the bottom of a V. So I always want to skip the main 2 middle bottom of the, if you're like, think of it like you're going down a mountain into a valley. At the very bottom of the valley are 2 double crochets. You always want to skip those 2 stitches, double crochet into the next stitch, and that brings you right back to a chain 2 peak, little mountain peak, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space. Hello, Vima. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Vima's been busy crocheting. Everybody in this crafty group is so great. We've all been so busy. Thank you, everybody, for sending photos of your finished calendar blankets to us at the Etsy shop. I will be putting together some posts so that everybody can see how beautiful these blankets are turning out. We posted the border video on Friday, and giant thank you to everybody who came along with us on this journey. So the blanket is now done. I can't believe we finished another one. That was really something. So that went up on Friday. A lot of you have already finished your blankets, which is great, and you've been sending in photos. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space, double crochet into the next stitch immediately, skip the middle 2 stitches, which are the ones that lean over top of the valley. So once again, if you're looking at it, you want the 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the space, double crochet immediately into the next stitch, skip the middle 2 stitches, which are kind of knocking together like this, double crochet into the next stitch, which is the stitch right before the chain 2 peak, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the peak. free written copy of this pattern on our website, link in description, and also to the original tutorial where we were making it into a blanket. That link is there as well. And please avail yourself of the free patterns on our website. So as Jeannie's saying, most of the tablecloths she's made are 60 inches in diameter. Okay, super duper to know. Do you get much of a drape over the edge of the table with that? Oh, gotta make one more in there. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the very next stitch. Skip the 2 that knock together over the valley, double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the next chain 2. This is row 5. We are still establishing the base of this pattern. We've got to get all the way up to row 9 before we can start the little waltzing repeat. I think I'm going to measure the diameter of this piece every couple of rows just to sort of give us an idea of how quickly, oh, I don't want to do that. Skip the middle 2 stitches, double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space. My fingers already just want to go with the pattern, like let's just go. Double crochet, skip 2, double crochet, and then into the chain 2 space, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. I really want to just sort of fly through this because I'm already getting excited about seeing it in the middle of the table. I'm going to see how far I can get with this pattern in our little hour together. And at the hour mark, if I feel like I can kind of squeeze out a couple more rows to get it to the size that I want. I'm not even exactly sure how big I want this yet. I'm not going for a tablecloth. I'm just going for a centerpiece because I want something really pretty in the middle of the table that, you know, I can put a couple of little, you know, middle of the table things on. All right, so a double crochet twice, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space. That's the last point, the last peak space. Double crochet in the next stitch. I want to skip these 2 middle stitches, and because I joined my yarn in the chain 2 space, I have one more stitch to double crochet into. But if you weren't changing colors and you slip stitched into this stitch, chain 3, and then did the middle 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, you actually want to skip the 2 middle stitches and join to the top of your chain 3. If you changed colors like me, you have one more stitch to do. So you want to make sure that you've got 12 points all the way around. So 12 chain 2 spaces, and in between you've got 6 stitches in between your 12 chain 2 spaces. So make sure there's 3 going down to your valley and 3 going up to the next peak. So 6 double crochets in between chain 2 spaces all the way around. And that's an easy way to know if you're done or not, because I've done my last chain 2 space, so I've got 3 double crochet. I'm going to skip 2, and I've only got 2 here, which means I've got to add in 1 more. So I'm going to do that right here. I'll take out my stitch marker, join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. There we go. And I'm going to just pull out my points. That was row 5. I'm moving on to row 6 now. Oh, I already am in love with this. This is so pretty. Love this red and love this white. Okay, going into number 6, I guess, because I joined here. So that technically is the top of this stitch. So I want to make sure that I'm always clear of the middle 2 stitches. I do not want to chain 3 out of one of the middle stitches because I always want to skip these 2 middle stitches. That's what's going to keep that valley going. But I joined with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that's in the chain 2 space where I started. So I can chain 3 right out of here. Chain 3, that counts as a double crochet. I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the middle, the chain 2 space. But if I'm confused, I just stop, and I want to make sure that my 2 middle stitches here have nothing in the top of them because I need to make sure I'm skipping them, and they're fine. So chain 3, double crochet in the next stitch, and then into the chain 2 space, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. You're going to have 4 double crochet stitches going down from your chain 2 space to your valley, and then 4 going up from your valley to your chain 2 space at the end of this row. So you'll have 8 stitches in between chain 2 spaces all the way around. So if you're unsure, double crochet into the very next stitch, double crochet into the stitch after that. You're always skipping those 2 stitches. So here are the 2 stitches in the middle. That's the valley. That's the top of them both. You always want to skip those 2 stitches. Double crochet into the next stitch on the other side of it, every stitch up to the next chain 2 space, and then for row 6 we're still going 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the chain 2 space, which gives us 8 double crochets total in between our chain 2 spaces. So if you're lost, just stop, make sure you've got 4 away from your chain 2, you're skipping the middle, 4 up to the next chain 2 space. That's what it looks like. Hello, Dawn. Dawn has been a member for 73 months. Thank you, Dawn. With a membership milestone, says, Happy Holidays, Jayda and Mr. InStitches. Thank you, Dawn. Happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. I can't believe we're at the end of 2024 already. I'm astounded. I really am. I feel like this year just I don't know, it evaporated. Double crochet in the next 2 stitches, skip the middle 2 stitches, skip, skip, double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and that brings me up to the chain 2 space. And for row 6, the chain 2 spaces still get 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And that's what we're going to do all the way around. You know what? I'm going to go back. It's kind of easy to see, but I'm still going to put my stitch marker on that chain 3 that began the row. Get the nice pretty red side up. There we go. Double crochet in the next 2 spaces or stitches. Hello, Amanda. Amanda's a little late to the party. That's perfectly fine. We're using a size 4 medium weight yarn. So in particular, I'm using the 100% mercerized cotton size 4 24/7 cotton to make a table centerpiece. But this is 100% mercerized crochet thread size 10 that I did a version of just to sort of show you that. That's 2.25 millimeter hook or a B hook. And that's the first 8 rows of our Sunburst blanket pattern. Free written pattern on the website. Original tutorial linked in the description box. This is the doily version. I'm going to keep going with this version myself off camera because it's a little difficult to see the thread work. But I'm going to continue this one myself because I wanted a nice sort of doily version of that. But that's that. And I'm making a centerpiece with the crochet cotton. So this is a size 4 and I'm using a 5 millimeter hook or the H hook. So if you want to do that, those are my choices of yarn and hook to turn this into a centerpiece. Imagine you have 5 spoons every day to use to do things. And if something is hard, it might take more than 1 spoon, says Wraith. I'm sure that's part of another... That must be part of a conversation that I missed out on. Spoons. Wraith says spoon theory. It's used for people with chronic illness or other things that limit what you can do. So in other words, you can only use a spoon, or you can only use 5 spoons. I'm unfamiliar with this theory. But I can totally understand that if you were handed a spoon when you needed a hammer, that would make things extremely difficult to get stuff done. It's kind of like that intelligence theory, you know. If you measure intelligence, if you look at all the animals on the planet and go, hey, you know, if you can climb a tree, you're intelligent, and you know the fish says, well, excuse me, what about me? It's that kind of thing, you know, like everybody's got different limitations. But everybody has different super abilities too, I've noticed. This is coming along. Okay, so as soon as I'm finished row 6, I'm going to measure it again. I've got 2 more rows to do in white. And I am going to see how, if I can speed up a little bit. I guess I will. Once you establish this pattern, like I said, the first 6 rows are really the establishment of this. So this is row 6. I'm almost finished row 6. This was sort of the final establishment row, and then rows 7, 8, and 9 become what we continually repeat to get the 12 points and keep the 12 points. So I'm double crocheting into the 2 stitches after the chain 2 space work, skipping the middle 2 stitches in the valley, and then working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into each of the chain 2 spaces. This is my last point, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. I want to double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. I want to make sure I'm skipping the middle 2 stitches, and that I have 4 stitches going from, so I'm going to take out my little stitch marker here. So there's my last chain 2, that's chain 2 space number 12, that's chain 2 space number 1. I have 4 stitches going down, 4 stitches going up. So that's correct. I want to skip these 2 middle stitches. I'm joining with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 1, or the chain 3, I should say, at the beginning of the row, and that is row 6 complete. Okay, so let's just pull out these corners, these little points, and then I will give it a little measure. So at the end of row 6, where am I at measurement-wise? 22 centimeters or 8.5 inches. Lovely. Coming along just lovely. All right. Row 6 complete. Now I'm heading into the repeating 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. So I need to get through rows 7, 8, 9 before I start repeating them again. But row 7 begins the whole repeating thing. Row 7 is a small peak row. So up until this point, we've been working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the 12 chain 2 spaces. Every row 7, so every time you repeat row 7, you're going to do what I call the small mountain peak row. When you get to a chain 2 space, you're only doing double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Because every 3 rows, we need to limit the number of stitches we put into a peak corner. Otherwise, if you always do 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet every single row as you're going, it will grow too quickly and it will start to ripple and it won't lay flat. So every 3rd repeat row, or every row 7, you do a small peak. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Rows 8 and 9, when you get to the chain 2 peak, you do 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So 7, small peak. Rows 8 and 9, big peak. This is row 7, so when I get to the chain 2 spaces, I'm going to be doing double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. All right, I joined with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. That chain 3 is the other side of the peak. So I need to slip stitch into the next stitch to begin. I do not want to chain 3 out of a stitch that is part of a valley because I need to skip those two. So I don't want a double crochet sitting on top of the valley stitch. I'm going to slip stitch instead into the stitch right next to it, chain 3 out of there. That counts as a double crochet. I'll double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. And then I will work a small peak, because I'm on row 7, into the chain 2 space. So double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Now, if you are zipping along through this pattern and you find it difficult to keep track, every time you get to a row 7, you might want to put a special colored stitch marker on, say, your first space, just to remind you that this is the small peak row. So every time you get to row 7, you indicate that row as give yourself a visual reminder of some sort, a different colored stitch marker, anything, just to remind you that every single time you get to one of those 12 chain 2 mountain peaks, the spaces, you want to go double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Once you do that double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, you're going to double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, going down the side of the mountain. You're going to continue to always skip the middle 2 in the valley. So those are the 2 that kind of knock together like this. You're always skipping those. Double crochet into the next stitch and in each stitch up to the next chain 2 space. So there'll be 3 of them. 3 double crochet into actual stitches, and then you're in a chain 2 space. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, because we're on a row 7. It's a small peak row. Double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, skip the middle 2 stitches. So there's the 2 middles, skip them, double crochet instead into the next 3 stitches. That takes me up to the next chain 2 space, and I work a small peak into it, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And that's the repeater all the way around. Mr. InStitches is singing Christmas carols in the chat. Penny, our puppy, has finally figured out that having a nap in the middle of the day in her crate does not mean that we are going to abandon her to the wolves. She can have a nap and everything will be fine, so she doesn't freak right out while we're live streaming, which is really nice. They grow up so fast. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into this space because this is a small peak row. I like the row 7s, they go just a little bit faster than the other rows do. Always skipping the middle 2 stitches. Skip, skip. Double crochet into the next 3. If you're keeping track, you should have 8 stitches in between chain 2 peaks. So there is no stitch increase. So every time you go between a row, when you get to the end of a row 8, you've increased by 24 stitches. When you get to so at the end of a row 8, you've increased your entire stitch count by 24 stitches. At the end of a row 9, you've increased your stitch count by 24 stitches. So you increase 24 and then 24. When you do a row 7, you're not increasing at all. So your stitch count at the end of a row 9 would be the same stitch count at the end of another row 7. All of this is explained in the written version of this pattern that we've got on our website that you're welcome to have. It's free. Link to that pattern workshop page on our website is in the description box down below. I know a lot of you probably already have this pattern because we did this tutorial and pattern like back in 2015 or something. Skip the middle 2 stitches. Yes, Nico. This is another one of those middle of a round thing. Hula hoop, big round, whatever. Those look really cool hanging on a wall. Very boho. I'm doing my best to just sort of let this work sit on my work table. I have a tendency to like to hold my work in the air in front of me, which is sometimes helpful if I'm trying to explain something. But this is, as this grows, it's really helpful to have it sitting comfortably on your work surface, maybe your lap. I like my table because it's a little higher than my lap. And then as it kind of spins around on my workspace, it's like it doesn't catch on anything. Nice smooth workspace is helpful too. And then the thing will just kind of spin around and around and around. And it makes it easier on your hands as you work. Same thing goes for if you're doing it a thread version of it. Don't encourage them, Grogus. All right. That is my last chain 2 point. I've got 4 double crochets between it and the bottom, the peak 2. I've got 4 on the other side, so that tells me that I'm done. I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 that began the row. I've got 8 double crochet stitches in between chain 2 peaks, and I just love pausing and pulling out those chain 2 peaks. It just is so satisfying. It also really helps you to sort of see that pattern coming together. That's 3 rows in white. I have 1 more row to do. It'll be row 8. Row 8 is a regular or a large peak row. So when I get to a chain 2 space, I'm working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into each of those chain 2 points all the way around. And then as usual, I'm always skipping the middle 2 stitches in the valley, the 2 that kind of knock together like this. I'm always skipping the middle 2, and I will grow my stitch count at the end of row 8 by 24 stitches in total. So here we go. I want to make sure that I am starting with a chain 3, not on top of a valley double crochet. These 2 are the middle stitches, which I want to skip. So I will slip stitch into the next stitch to start the row there. Chain 3 out of there, double crochet in each stitch up to the chain 2 space. And because this is a row 8 or a regular peak row, it's 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. We are increasing stitch count in row 8. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Then I want to double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. I'm skipping the middle 2 as usual because they're the 2 that create the valley. Double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches up to the next chain 2 space, and then a regular peak, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in it. And that is row 8. And let's see how fast I can do it. Always skip the middle 2 double crochets that are the top of the valley, the little valley stitches. That is what, every time you skip those 2 stitches, it keeps that valley going. So that is what pulls your stitches together and creates the little valley, that V shape. So always skip the middle 2. And then when you get to them, sometimes you got to just stop. So I find it's easier sometimes to identify the actual posts of them on either side of the valley, and then I skip those 2 stitches, the tops of them, because the tops of the stitches always sit just to the right if you work right-handed, just to the left if you work left-handed. So sometimes it's easier to identify the posts. They're just bigger, easier to see. Anna Victoria says, fastest hook in Canada. I doubt it, but the nice thing about a pattern that gets established is that you can speed up. Your fingers start to know what to do. Goodness me, Cynthia, thank you for picking up a couple of patterns. Thank you so much. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you, thank you. Skipping the middle 2 stitches. So now when I finish this row and I head into row 9, first of all, I'm going to change colors. Double crochets, I think we've had this conversation before during live streams, but I feel like a double crochet is the fastest stitch for me to do. And obviously chains are really, really fast, but I don't typically include chains as a stitch, even though they are. I know it's kind of mean of me to exclude a chain, but I feel like double crochets are the fastest stitch for me to do. I feel like I can do them faster and with more accuracy and even tension than I can even do single crochets. Is that the same for everybody? Hi, Penelope. Also, I can move faster with it lying on the surface beneath my hands, not having to hold it up. Takes the weight off, so I can really just zip through it, which feels nice, which is great because I would like to have this on my table in time for Christmas. Amanda says her favorite's the half double crochet. So at the end of row 8, I'm going to change colors again and get my green going. So I want to see, I think that's going to look so pretty. And then I'm probably just going to work away at this. I don't know how big I'm going to make it. I don't want it to be huge. I want it to be a really, I'm thinking maybe if I do a full 4 more rows in the green, it might be a significantly large centerpiece. I don't want it to be so big that it stretches out to touch our charger plates, because I don't want anything on the table kind of sitting like unevenly. So I don't know. I'm going to measure this again at the end of row 8. Then I'm going to change colors. I think I'm already getting to the point where like 9 rows of this pattern would make a good sized placemat, in my opinion, depending on how big your plates are, using the size 4 medium weight yarn and the 5mm hook, the H8. Masha says the double crochets are faster for her too. It's the yarn over, yeah. Penelope says half double crochet is her fave too. But usually, recently you've been using the extended double crochet. I love that one as well. That's a great way to make like a treble sized stitch without wrapping your yarn 100 times. All right, that's my last stitch. There should be 10 stitches between your chain 2 spaces. I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. I'm going to pull out my spaces. I'm going to fasten off because I'm changing now to green. There we go. So I'm going to weave this tail in. I am not going to do any weaving in at the end. I want it all done with before I'm all right. So all the way one way, and then skip over a loop and go all the way back. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's 8 rows. That's 2 full color changes. I'm going to do 4 rows of green next. Let's see where we're at. Mayla says half double for me also. However, the first few rows are a little slower as I tend to do double if I'm not paying attention. Yes, I can sometimes do that too. Although if I'm really flying, depending on the pattern, if I'm really flying through double crochet, sometimes I'll accidentally do a half double because I'm just like yarn over. I'm pulling so quickly. So this is basically 11 inches now, or 28 centimeters from point to point. So I'm already at 11 inches at the end of row 8. So I'm going to be over, this is going to be more than 30 centimeters. It's going to be over 12 inches at the end of row 9. So that's a nice, that's great. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I don't want this to be too huge because it's a centerpiece. It's not like a tablecloth. But I think four full rows is going to bring it out pretty large. And then maybe I'll do another row of white just to kind of crisply finish it. I'm moving on to row 9. So this is technically row 9 of the pattern. I'm going to join my yarn. Anytime I change colors, I like to join my yarn with a slip stitch in a chain 2 space and start the pattern from there. But if you're not changing colors at the end of a row, just make sure that if you are over top of one of the valley stitches that you slip stitch into the next stitch before you chain 3. Your chain 3 counts as double crochet. Double crochet in every stitch up to your chain 2 space, and then row 9 is a regular peak or a large mountain peak row where every chain 2 space gets 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So you are increasing your stitch count by 24 stitches and at the end of a row 9. So chain 3 for me though in the chain 2 space, because if I'm changing colors, I always like to start in the corner space or the peak space in this case. Chain 3, double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So that starts my row 9 because I decided to change colors. But like I say, if you're not changing colors, all you need to do when you start a row is just make sure that you are not starting on top of a valley stitch. Your 2 valley stitches always knock together at the top like this. Just make sure you're not starting there. If you joined and it's the stitch on the other side of the valley, slip stitch into the next stitch, then chain 3, and then double crochet into every stitch until you get to your chain 2 space. And then we double crochet in every stitch all the way down to the valleys. Let me get this out of the way because I don't want my yarn tangling. And I'm working over top of little short tails where I can. So that'll be 2, 4, 6 stitches from point to valley, skip the valley stitches, and then there will be 12 double crochets in between your chain 2 peaks at the end of row 9. So between every set of chain 2 peaks, you're going to have 6 double crochets. So if you're lost or you're trying to sort of make sure you're in the right, you've got the right thing going, you've got 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in every space. You've got 4 double crochet down the side, skip the 2 middle, which is the valley, and then 4 up to the next chain 2 space, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the space. This is row 9. This is what I call a large peak row or a regular valley, a regular mountain peak row. And you're always skipping the middle 2 double crochets at the very bottom, because that is what creates and keeps that valley going, the bottom of the V basically. Anna Victoria is in the middle of a crafty crisis. I like that, a crafty crisis. My list of things to make is endless. I have a list of things that I want to make. I know I'm not going to get them all done. I'll just have to deal with that as I go. It just happens to me every year. But I want to make this for myself. I realize that several holidays have gone by now where I really haven't stopped and made anything for myself. And my own holiday decor is getting a little... not boring. It's just that I feel like my table really needed something, and I've been wanting to make one of these for the middle of the table since I made the Christmas tree skirt version of this pattern. Like, how many years ago was that now? So Maeve's looking for some quick Christmas ornament patterns. Oh my gosh, I've got a ton. Depends on what you want to make. I've got a really fun video. I think we put it out last year. It's 3 fast Christmas ornaments, or my 3 fastest Christmas ornaments. I think if you search that, I've got 3 included, at least 3 included in that video, which are so lightning quick. You can make some of them in like 15 minutes flat. And they're cute. They're not dorky looking. Also, remember, this is that time of year when you can pull out all of that fun novelty yarn or the super bulky stuff and have fun with that, because like our little wreath pattern, little basic wreath tutorial, that was like a little flat wreath applique that we made years ago as part of our Ugly Christmas Sweater gingerbread house appliques. That, using a super jumbo yarn and a really big hook, makes the cutest wreaths. In fact, I think I've got them. Have I got them nearby? I'm not sure where they are. I may have put them out. I've had to move so much. I've had to shuffle so much stuff around to keep the dog from getting at it that I'm losing track of where I put things. Penelope says double crochet is her quickest. Sandra's wondering what I'm using. I'm using 24/7, the size 4, Sandra. That is for, because I wanted to use the cotton for the centerpiece. I'm just catching up with some of the chitter chatter here. I'm also curious just to see how long this takes me, chit-chatting with everybody, because I really wanted to make a full-size centerpiece with this pattern. And when I actually work at my own pace, I realize I'm pausing every so often to kind of answer questions and talk with everybody, but still, I mean, I wouldn't be nose to the grindstone on my own either. I'd be pausing and sipping my tea or whatever. I'm curious to just see how long this takes me, because I feel like I know I crochet quickly, but I also think maybe, given how long I've crocheted, I'm going to say that I'm probably a moderate speed. Like, assuming you've crocheted for several years and you're comfortable with a pattern, I'm going to guess that you probably crochet about the same speed as me, maybe a little faster or a little slower, just depending on if your hands are cold or if you've got, like, you know, wrist pain or anything. So I'm going to say I'm kind of like a moderate speed crocheter, given my history. Obviously, if I had just started, I wouldn't be crocheting this fast. But people are constantly asking, you know, how long does it take to make that? And my answer is always, well, how fast do you crochet? Because it's going to be different for everybody. But at least this kind of gives us all an idea of, you know, you can see how quickly I crochet. But it's just double crochet. It's not a complicated pattern. Once you kind of establish what you have to do for each row, you can just kind of like zip through it. I would like to know how fast it would take me to do the first 12 rows of this pattern, because I think that's how big I want my overall centerpiece to be. And then, you know, you'll kind of know, oh, it'll take you an hour and a half. It'll take you 2 hours or whatever, however this ends up, however long this live stream ends up being, because I started it at the beginning, and I am now on my 9th row with some little pauses. And if I can get the whole thing done to the size that I like, then I'll know how long it took. And everybody else can kind of use that as a bar for their own purposes. So if you are interested in making one of these for yourself, or goodness gracious, why not a last minute gift, you'll know kind of roughly how long you're going to need in order to get it done. That was a really long-winded way of saying we'll figure out how fast this takes, how much time this takes. Okay, so I'm all the way back to the beginning. I'm joining with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. That was row 9. That is the official end of the written version of the pattern. Now, all you have to do is repeat rows 7, 8, 9. It's that pretty little waltz. 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, and that's how you keep increasing the size of this blanket, or in this case, our centerpiece. At the end of row 9, I'm already at 13 inches or 33 centimeters. So this for sure, 9 rows of this with the 5mm hook and a size 4 medium weight yarn, mercerized cotton in this case, definitely makes a nice placemat size, I feel. You could even go bigger if you wanted, but I don't know how much space you have on your table. This is definitely as big a placemat as I could squeeze into my table, because my table's round. But I definitely want it to be bigger. So I'm going to, right from where I am, I'm not changing colors, I'm going to chain 3 because I'm nowhere near my valley, so I can chain 3. That counts as double crochet. I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. Row 7, because I finished row 9, now I go back to row 7 to repeat the pattern. So row 7, row 8, row 9, row 7, row 8, row 9, row 7, row 8, row 9, etc. Row 7 is a small peak row, so when I get to a chain 2 space, I only do 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet. So small peak, no increase in stitch count, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in the peak. I go all the way down to the valley. I am still skipping the middle 2 stitches, so I got to make sure when I get there. So skip, skip, and then double crochet each stitch back up to the next chain 2 space. Hello, Joanna. Joanna's Crochet and Animal Sanctuary with a very generous super chat. Thank you so much. Joanna says, what size would be the best for making someone else's gift? It depends. I guess if you're making this as a table centerpiece, you might want to know how big and maybe what configuration their table is. So for example, I have a round table, which is why I feel like this is going to be just peachy, because there'll be an even amount of table space on all sides, because this is also round. If it's a big rectangle, like one of those beautiful harvest dinner tables, or a square table, I mean, there's nothing saying this will still look beautiful on it, but you might want to know the size of the table and the shape, because I'd say 16 inches from point to point is a nice centerpiece size, period, regardless of the table size or shape, because that still gives you the ability to put a placemat down. This is what I mean. You don't want your placemats interfering, at least in my opinion, interfering with the points of your table. But you don't want stuff overlapping, because then you end up putting like a plate down and things look wobbly. It also maybe looks a little complicated or unnecessarily confusing. So I like my pieces on my table to have their own space around them, so that first of all you can appreciate the shape, the color, etc. You can still see the table or the tablecloth if you're putting this on a fancy tablecloth that's a solid color or something. You want to still be able to see the cloth, and you also want to have some areas where you can put things down, like a glass, unless you're also using coasters. You want to be able to put things down and not have them trying to sort of be half on something and half off something. So I would say no larger than 16 inches if you don't know the shape and size of the table, or even if you do, that's a nice centerpiece size, period. It also would look nice on a side table as kind of like a big fancy doily. But if it's a big circle table like mine, then a little bigger maybe is okay too. So I'm skipping the middle 2 stitches. Anna Victoria is asking for a poll. I don't know if Mr. InStitches is available, and I can't do them from where I am. Isn't that funny? I can see what's happening here, but I can't actually create a poll. Who's fastest? Miss Jayda's crocheting, Mr. InStitches fishing a bag out of snacks, or Penelope diving into the compost? That is a really good question. I would say, Penelope, that 9 rows total of this is definitely the right size for a placemat, because that comes out to about 13 inches like I just measured. So if you were going to make them placemat sized, I would stop at 9 rows using the 5mm hook and the size for medium weight yarn. So yes, 9 rows, because that comes out to about 13 inches, and I feel like that's a nice size. They won't interfere with their neighbors. And most dinner plates, I know some dinner plates can be really big, but most dinner plates are like 12 inches across, maybe 12.5 inches. I realize it depends on your plateware, but I feel like 13 inches is really nice. Plus, especially if you don't have your plates down on the table before you eat, let's say everybody kind of grabs one if it's like a self-serve sort of situation, it's nice to be able to appreciate the look of those placemats on the table before, you know, everybody kind of sits down and puts a plate on top of it. Chris, have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. Hi, Cherry. Everybody's piling in here. Crocus is buried under snow. Crocus has got to go shovel. Take care. Take it easy. If you're shoveling snow, anybody, please remember to do a little warm up before you start to shovel. Otherwise, you could hurt yourself. And take it easy as you shovel. Do not overexert yourself. Far too many people have themselves a heart attack or a stroke just in time for Christmas because they've been shoveling snow and they're not ready for it. So a little warm up and then take your time. Please and thank you. That's your public service announcement for the day. Since I'm on a row 7 repeat, or a repeat of row 7, a small peak row, I'm only working double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in each chain 2 corner. This will keep the blanket or this particular pattern from expanding too quickly, and I will not have like a rippling effect, which is what I want to avoid. Always skip the middle 2 stitches across the valley between your chain 2 peaks. Double crochet in every single stitch leading up to the chain 2 peak, and on a small peak row like a row 7, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then double crochet in every single stitch down to the 2 stitches that sit on either side of that valley. Skip them. Double crochet in each stitch all the way back up. So I am really starting to zip. I feel like I'm moving at a nice clip now. Guess I'm warmed up. I think actually, to answer that question, I think it's Penny. Penelope is probably faster at everything. She's got such a fast little mouth. She gets into the craft room every once in a while, or anything. Now she's tall enough that she can reach into the front-loading washing machine. And if you're trying to load laundry into it, she's so fast at snagging something that you've got to chase her around the house now if she's like run off with a pair of socks or a t-shirt or something. She just grabs whatever because she knows she's not allowed to, and she thinks it's great fun to get chased. So she's quick, far too quick. So skip, skip. Almost all the way back around again. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. That's my last peak, my 12th chain 2 peak for this row. There is no increase in the stitch count at the end of a row 7. Because you are not, the increases come in the middle of the peak. So every time you're kind of working in the chain 2 space from the previous row, that's where you would add your increases. But there is no increasing on a row 7 because it's just double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So that keeps it, you've got 12 stitches between chain 2 spaces all the way around at the end of a row 7. This is technically row 10 of the overall pattern, but you repeat 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. over and over and over again. So I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. I'm going to pull out my stitches. I'm definitely going to do an even number of rows per color. So I want to do 4 rows in green, and I'm 2 rows in. So I'm going to do row 11 and row 12 in green. And that would be a row 8 and a row 9 of the actual pattern stitch. Patrina just won a $500 scholarship for school. That is fantastic. Congratulations. Holy smokes. That's awesome. Ha ha! Congratulations. What a nice way to finish off the year. Okay, let's quickly measure this so far. So at the end of row 10, I'm at 36 centimeters or 14 inches. 14 inches also might be a nice size for a dinner plate or a placemat, depending on how big your table is. If you've got a really big harvest table, a 14-inch placemat might be, oh my gosh, I mean, yes, you can put a plate down on that. So that might be good. 10 rows might be good if you've got a larger table. If you're trying to squeeze in more place settings, then only 9 rows of the pattern might be good for you. I'm going to keep going here with my green. So I'm nowhere near the valley, so I can just chain 3 right from where I am. Counts as a double crochet. I want to double crochet in the next 2 stitches that bring me up to my chain 2 peak. And because I'm on a row 8, so this is the row 8 part of the repeater, this is a regular peak. So I want to go 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in my chain 2 peaks. Like I say, if you have trouble kind of remembering where you're at when you're working on this pattern, you might want to, when you start a row 7 of the repeater, just maybe mark it with a different colored stitch marker, or give yourself some sort of visual reminder that you're making a small peak row, so that when you move on to rows 8, 9 of the repeater and you're back to making a regular peak, this is also an increase row. So when you're working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space, like I am for this row, you are increasing. This is a stitch increase, so there will be 24 new stitches added to this at the end of this row. It's getting so large now that it's kind of comfortable to just sort of spin while I work. Double crochet in each stitch. It's much easier to see these stitches using the size 4 medium weight yarn and the larger hook. Skipping the 2 middle stitches across the valley, double crocheting up to the next chain 2 space. Making sure I get every single one of those stitches, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the chain 2 space. So this is a regular peak row. It's a row 8. You will have 7 going down and 7 going up, or 14 double crochet in between your chain 2 spaces at the end of row 11, or what is a row 8. So we're going to double crochet in every stitch. Down to the middle 2, I'm going to skip them. Yeah, this is the round version of a chevron blanket. It's also, this is such an old blanket. Tina's just saying this puts her in mind of a chevron blanket. It's the round version of a chevron blanket, basically. The fun thing about doing it in the round is that the stitches in between your peaks keep getting, they keep increasing. So the distance between points increases when you work in the round. But if you just work back and forth across a regular ripple blanket, the stitches in between points remain constant. It's like, I kind of liken it to dropping a pebble in the water. The rings get larger and larger and larger the further out they go. It's exactly the same thing when you're crocheting a circle or a circular mandala style pattern. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the chain 2 space because I'm on a row 8. Row 8 repeater. The whole blanket, I'm on row 11. And I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do one more row in the green. So far, I am an hour and a half into this centerpiece. With the odd little stop and chat, I feel like I'm making pretty decent progress. So I'm definitely doing 12 rows at the very least. I think that that will be a very nice size. I might do one final row in white just to kind of give it a crisp edge, and I might do it in single crochet. Just, you know, to, I don't know, set it off. Maybe I'll add a little bit of fancy picot work in the corners, why not? That's the fun thing when you are on your last row, whether it's a blanket or a doily or whatever you might be making, when you don't have to worry about further increases or making sure that you keep a mathematical pattern going so that, you know, further increases don't screw up or it's not too tight or too loose. Your final row, you can really kind of go crazy. If it's the last row you're adding to something, you can really go off script. You can do whatever you want. Because as you're going, you'll see, oh, that's too tight. I got to add in another stitch. Or, oh, that's too loose. I got to take out a stitch. All right. This is faster than I thought. Patrina says she's making this tonight. Well, go for it. Like I said, I'm an hour and a half into this. I feel like I crochet at a fairly average speed given my history, but also this is a pretty repetitive pattern, and repetitive patterns are a lot easier to crochet fast than non-repetitive patterns because you don't have to think as much. Also, it's the double crochet stitch, which I feel is just a faster stitch to get through. And I am zipping across. Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Krista. We do have a rectangular chevron blanket version of this. So it's just the solid double crochet. And I think we called it the chevron blanket. It's, you know, it's that classic one that you saw on the back of everybody's sofa in the 70s. It was usually like brown and gold and harvest green. Am I handing some nostalgia out here? Or green, yellow, brown, and white. Certainly, I think there was one of those in my. I think my grandmother had one on the back of the couch in those colors. It's the classic chevron blanket. Two, chain two, double crochet twice. There we go. Double crochet in each stitch down to the valley, skip the 2 valley stitches. The difference between this version of the ripple pattern, because there's so many different kinds, and our straight chevron blanket pattern is that I don't have spaces in the chevron blanket pattern. So we'd used solid increases and solid decreases. So for example, instead of skipping the middle stitches, I double crocheted 3 stitches together to get a solid. So I didn't want holes in the blanket. And then for the increase, instead of working like a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, or a V stitch like this one, we just put 3 double crochets into the same stitch, and that creates a solid look as opposed to a look with holes in it. I like all of the looks, but I just wanted a solid version. This one's a lot more lacy because it's got the spaces in between with the chain 2 corners, the chain 2 peaks, and then the spaces in between for the valleys as well. Like I said, if you're unsure, there should be 7 stitches coming down from the peak to the valley, 7 going up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So that's 7. And I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. I have 1 more row to go in green. So this will be row 12 of the table centerpiece. It's technically row 9 of the pattern repeater. Wraith says her grandma made my parents a chevron in green and white. It lived on the sofa, and anytime you were sick, you were under that. Yeah! All right, one more row of green. So I'm in the middle of this edge. I'm nowhere near the 2 valley stitches, so I don't have to worry. I can chain 3 right out of here. This will be my last row of green, and then I'm going to double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. That'll take me up to the chain 2 space. And because this is a row 9 of the repeating pattern, it's a large peak row. I'm going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into each of those 12 chain 2 peak spaces all the way around. And I'll have 16 stitches in between peaks. So it'll be 8 down, 8 up. Still skipping the bottom 2 in the middle. So that's 8, skip the 2 bottom middle ones, and then 8 up the next side. 6 actual double crochet stitches, and then 2 in the chain 2 corner. I like the lacy version too, Penelope. I like all versions. I think if I'm kind of feeling cold and a little crusty, I like the solid one. But if I want something a little more pretty to kind of put out, especially if I'm making it in a solid color, the lacy version looks really nice in the solid color. Oh, there's just so many ways you can make a ripple stitch. Again, crochet, am I right? It's just awesome. So double crochet in every stitch down to the bottom 2, skip those. This is my last row of green. And then I will measure it. I think I'm probably going to be at least 16 inches here. That's my guess. Trina says, Jayda, have you ever done a live where you made a hexagon cardigan? No, I made little hexagon cardigan Christmas ornaments. We did that one year. They are fun and cute to make. Mr. InStitches even made a tutorial, even sort of did a little mini tutorial inside that tutorial on how to make a little hanger out of to hang it on out of pipe cleaners. Cute. They make cute ornaments for the tree. I have made several of those cardigans in the past, back in the aughts. I found the original baby sweater version of that pattern on the internet, back when the internet was in its fledgling stages before YouTube and all that. And I'm trying to remember the name of the woman who had come up with the pattern, and I can't, and it's bothering me. But she had made this really cute version of that pattern into a baby sweater, and I loved it. And I made a half a dozen baby sweaters. I might even still have a couple tucked away somewhere. Back when it was so years and years and years ago. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this would be so easy to like upsize and make into an adult size sweater. And I never did. I never got around to doing that. I know like a million people now have made adult sized versions of it. They've made, they call it every name under the sun. But it'll always just be the hexagon baby jacket in my brain, because that's how I first came across the pattern. And I think, like I said, I've made a little version. We made like that little mini version for the tree. Also, it fits a Barbie doll, or a slightly larger doll, incidentally. I feel like this is coming along faster than I anticipated. So I'm quite happy about that, because I will have this on my table today, as opposed to waiting until the weekend or having to slave over it for a whole week. I am delighted. Delighted. So this is the final row of green. This is technically row 12, but it's the it's the row 9 of the pattern stitch on repeat. Yeah, and then I'm thinking I'm going to finish it with a row of white, and I'm going to measure it. I'm going to see if I want much more sizing, and then I'm going to do one little finishing row, and I might make it a little extra fancy, some like little picots or extra point work or something. We'll see. All right. So the first thing I wanted to do to kick off this week ahead of Christmas of live streams, we're hoping to live stream a few more times this week. Please keep an eye on the community tab of our YouTube channel. We will be posting whether or not we go live, because we have to play a little bit by ear. You know what this time of year is like. It's just mental. We're trying to get so much done. We just had a birthday party this weekend. We were involved with, so it's like I said, I'm still got to pull my head out of birthday stuff and get back into Christmas. But I really wanted to. I've kind of got like decorating my own house in mind this year. It's been so long since I just made nice things for myself, and I thought I really wanted a centerpiece. And this is, so I wanted to do this with everybody. Once again, so many people have asked about modifying this baby blanket pattern to do other things, and it was high time we did. So I wanted to see what this looked like with, I knew it would look beautiful in thread. This is it here in the thread. I'm going to finish that one for sure, but I also wanted to do it in the mercerized size 4 weight yarn, because I knew this would be a quick way to make a nice centerpiece, and also it's a nice weight as well. Oh, look, we have a visitor. Hello. She's
been waiting 2 hours to say hello.
Well, hello, miss. Hi, miss. I don't even know if you can do it without her grabbing everything.
No.
Fastest mouth in the West.
That looks really good, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's going crazy.
Okay, all right. We'll talk to you a little later, Miss Penny.
All right.
She's doing her little fluttery,
She's doing her little flutter cry.
Flutter whine. Oh, I'm so hard done by. I've only had 18 snacks today. Spoiled little pup. Spoiled little pup. This is the tail end of row 9 of the repeat number row 12 of the actual overall centerpiece. So this is my last row of green. I'm going to fasten off, weave in this tail, measure it. Let's see here. I'm coming up on my, oops, don't want to do that. I want to skip the middle 2, skip, and one more on the other side just to make sure. I should have 3, 6, 8. 3, 6, 8. 3, 6, 8. Okay, so that's correct. Joining with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. I have 16 double crochets in between chain 2 peaks. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my chain 2s just to get that pointy look going. I think this needs like a row of white to just crisply finish it off. All right, I'm gonna fasten off. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of green. I've done 4 rows of red, 4 rows of white, 4 rows of green. That's 12 rows in total of that pattern. I'm gonna fasten off, flip it over, weave it in. We'll give it a measure, and then one more row of white, and I think I'm going to do, what do you guys think? I guess we'll measure it first, and then we'll decide whether I do a single crochet based final edge or a double crochet based final edge. There we go. Okay, all woven in. All right, so let's give this baby a measure. Oh, this is just such a satisfying pattern. You guys are welcome. Dawn says thank you for the pattern. You're welcome. A reminder, it's a free written pattern over on our website. Link in the description. Also, grab any free pattern you want while you're there. We've got over 50 of them. And tutorial, the original tutorial is also linked in the description box if you want like a slightly more succinct version. 43 centimeters, 17 inches point to point. Oh, that's nice. Okay, 17 inches. That's 12 rows of the pattern with the size 5 millimeter H8 hook and 4 medium weight yarn. I specifically am using the 100% mercerized cotton, 24/7 cotton. Single crochet or double crochet edge in white. I'm going to go back to white to do one final row just to crisp it up. Hi Donna. Amanda says I think single crochet. I'm thinking single crochet. So I'm thinking single crochet. I will continue to like skip the middle 2 stitches, but in the chain 2 spaces, I'm thinking like a little tiny, like a little picot. I could do like a little, okay, I could do plain, no points, a little picot point, or like a little loop, a little, would a loop look dorky? It might look dorky. I think maybe not the loop. Point, I could do, no, pom-pom is too big. I think I want the crispness. So I'm thinking, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try a little picot. We'll see what we think. If we don't like it, I'll just do like a couple chains to keep that crisp point. So let's go. So we've got single, single, single crochet, single. Jessica Rabbit says half double crochet with the picots. Half double crochet. Plain so it doesn't take away from the star shapes, says Caroline. 3 options. You know what? Let's just jump right in and see what happens. Let's do this on the fly. Okay, this is the final row. I'm doing it in white. I'm gonna go with the single crochet just because I think I like the idea of it being half the size of the doubles. I'm going to join in any old chain 2 space. I'm going to join with a single crochet. Okay. So single crochet. I'm going to single crochet again, or will I? One single crochet. Okay, tell you what. You know what? Let's establish up to the space. So I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to join with a single crochet elsewhere. So again, I'm going to skip those 2 middle stitches always. I'm going to join with a single crochet right next to them so that I can single crochet all the way up to the chain 2 space, and at least that establishes that nice crisp white row. So when I get to the corner, I can just go right into making up the corner stitch work. So single crochets instead. Yes. See, already nice little thin edging into the chain 2 corner or the chain 2 peak. I'm going to start with the picot. I like the idea of the picot. So single crochet, chain 3. I'm going to single crochet, slip stitch back into the first chain and then single crochet. I will single crochet a few more stitches and then we'll pull back and take a look at it. So here we go. Let me just pull down a couple more stitches just so we can get an idea. All right, so there is the little picot. It kind of acts like an extra point. What do we think? Nice and pointy. So that's a single crochet picot, chain 3, slip stitch in the first chain, single crochet. So there's only 2 single crochets technically. Penelope says, what about the slip stitch? Slip stitching all the way around would show on one side and not necessarily the other. You could do that. You could do that if you wanted to. I like the picot. Okay, so that's what the picot looks like. Everybody's had a look at that. Let me pull it out and I'll just do single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, maybe no, chain 2, just to keep that chain going. Let's do 2 single crochet. So single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, and then I'll single crochet in the next few stitches. I'll pull that point out and we'll see what we think of that. So kind of like the picot. Picot gives it an extra sharp kind of little point. That's plain version. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So I like the little picot. Frankly, that's also quite nice if you're just going for super plain. I like that too. And I'm going to show you the third option of what I thought was dorky. Haha, Nico, I saw you. I say dorky only because I'm like, just because I think this might be a bit thick. It might look different in the thread, but so that's very plain Jane. I like plain too. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in every single chain 2 space. That gives you just a simple plain point. I like that too. So I like the picot. I like the plain Jane. This is the other thing I was thinking. So single crochet, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then single crochet, and then single crochet into the next few stitches just to kind of get a look. And this was what I was thinking, was just like putting a loop in every single corner. I thought that might be, I don't know, I thought that might be, you see, if you were going to go crazy fancy and add like a bell or a bead or a fancy button or something, that actually doesn't look that bad. So that's single crochet, chain 7, single crochet. That gives you like a little loop, just a little bit of interest. I don't know. 3 different options. So you can go super plain, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. The picot, which gives you a little bit of a sharper point, single crochet, chain 3, slip stitch, single crochet, or the loop, single crochet, chain 7, single crochet. Krista says no loop. Amanda says picot. Dawn says she likes them all. Victoria says, how about the crab stitch? Yeah, that's crocheting backwards. That looks kind of cool. I don't think I can physically handle that though. My wrist has been acting up, so I don't know if I can do that. I like the plain picot. Not a fan of the loop. I think the loop's kind of fun. It's a little less dorky looking than I thought it was, but you know what? I think I'm going to go, let's just try that picot once more. Chain 3, slip stitch in the first chain, single crochet. Do I like the picot? Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. You know, I think I'm going to go uncharacteristic. I'm going to be a little uncharacteristic, and I'm just going to do plain. I'm going to go single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. I don't usually do this, and I feel like I don't need to add anything. This is interesting enough on its own. It's got the chain spaces, which gives it that lacy look. And just the crisp little white edge, I think, is all it needs. So lots of you like the picots. Should I go with the picot? Now I'm second guessing myself. Amanda says the picot, the single crochet is the most crisp. Another one, Gloria says picot, 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 picot. Listening while I drive. Picot so far. What about picot then single crochet on the point, says Georgie. Single crochet. Destiny says go with less is best. Penelope says, I feel like you always have to fiddle with the picot to get them the same. Yeah, you know what? I like both, guys. I think I might do something a little different with the lacy one, just because the lace acts a little differently. I think I'm just going to go plain for now. I really love this white edging, just to kind of make it look like it's kind of kissed with a little bit of icing sugar. I love that. So I'm just going to go single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the points. Very simple, very plain. But I think that's partially too because I'm adding this little bit of color, like I'm adding, not color, but I'm adding the white back in around the edge. So it's kind of looks like a little bit of, like it's dipped in snow. So I don't think it really needs much else. But if I go with, what did I just drop? I have no idea what I just dropped. What the heck was that? I don't know. So I'm gonna, when I do the lacy version, I'm gonna work on that one on my own. I'll see what I think about the different versions in the middle. I'll definitely post some photographs in the community tab for you all to see how the lacy one turns out. The lacy one might take me a little longer just because it's lace. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the points, and just one little row of single crochet all the way around. Nice way to finish this off. I will measure it again at the end. Thanks everybody for sticking around here. Sort of a longer than normal crochet set, little live stream, but you know what? It's almost the holidays, so we're taking a little extra time for ourselves here. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Yeah, that gives me a nice crisp little point. So I'm not increasing. This is going to be the same stitch count at the end of the row as it would have been for the previous row, because I'm treating, even though I'm using single crochet, I'm still treating it like a row 7 of the increase pattern, which is in the chain 2 corner space, or the chain 2 peak. I'm only going stitch, chain 2, stitch, as opposed to stitch, stitch, chain 2, stitch, stitch. So single crochet in this case, chain 2, single crochet. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. It's also fast to do just plain single crochet and nothing fancy in the peaks. This is a thicker yarn. So like I said, when I go and do my lace version, I'll try a few different things and see what looks good. I also might not use single crochet on the thread version. I might use double crochet, but like I said, I will see I'll see how that works out. I'll take a photo and I'll give you guys details in case you like it and want to mimic it yourself. And we'll see how long that takes me. I crochet a lot slower when I'm crocheting with thread. Not the least reason because I have trouble seeing it, but also just because it's so much smaller, and the way I hold my thread and yarn kind of makes it a little more difficult for me to handle thread. But I still worked up, this still only took me half an hour. And that was the first 8 rows in thread, so that wasn't too bad. And now that I'm warmed up, maybe I'll move a little quicker. We'll see. Christmas miracle. Skip, skip. I want the top of this, which is the chain 3. So I'm going to slip my hook in there. Underneath that, fasten off. And I'm going to pull, give me that single crochet, make it nice and tight. And then single crochet, continue. Okay. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Picot or chain 2 totally works, says Donna. Okay, skip 2 stitches. More than halfway all the way around. I'm almost done this. Guys, I'm deliriously happy about this. This is going directly onto my table. And I like it so much. Oops, yeah, chain 2. I like it so much, I might make one for Mama InStitches. I think she might like one of these. She would probably like it all in crisp shades of, let's see, rich navy blue and white. She would like that. She would probably like it in, if I could do silver and ice blue, she'd probably like that. I might just ask her. And small ones, she's got a really long table, so a couple of small ones underneath the giant candlestick holders might look really pretty too. So you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to post a photo of this in the community tab a little later today with some information about it. So if you want, kind of like a, almost like a little cheat sheet. So if you were going to make one for yourself later, because let's face it, what has this been? About 2 hours? 2 hours. So if you just really sit down and focus, you can have one of these for yourself in 2 hours. So this is a pretty nice centerpiece and spend a couple hours working on it. I'm pretty thrilled about that. So if you were going to make one for yourself or for someone else, let's face it, at that speed, that makes a pretty nice sort of last minute, quote unquote, gift, last minute. If you can squeeze it in amongst all the other things that you want to do. But I feel like this is one of those patterns that's fairly easy. Like if I have to go somewhere and sit and wait, like in the car or something, I could probably get like at least half of one of these done. So I like that. I like that a lot. So this, I'm going to include how many rows I did, the colors I used. I'll basically do like a little cheat sheet in the community tab later. So if you want to, quick reminder of what I used, hook-wise, yarn-wise, number of rows, edging, etc. If you want to kind of mimic it yourself or know like to fiddle with that last row, then I'll include that for you guys as well. So I have one more stitch. And then I joined with a single crochet just after the 2 in the valley. So I'm going to skip over the valley and join with a slip stitch there. And that is it. Let's fasten off, weave and tail, give this a final measurement. I think I need to sharpen those scissors. Okay, so I'm going to pull this through here. There we go. And tighten that knot on the back. And let's weave this in. Get under these stitches here. Actually, I'm going to go the other way. Go up this way. There we go. So that's all the way in one direction. Skip over a loop and all the way back down in the other direction. Oh, I love being able to make an entire project start to finish in one sitting. That makes me feel like I've accomplished something, and that is such a nice feeling. All right, let's pull out those points. I might give this a little proper blocking. But my workspace is nice and clean, so I'm not too worried about this shedding stuff or fluff on my dining room table. So I'm just gonna, the other thing that you can do is like literally grab the 2 chains and pull them into a point. Oh man, this worked out so nicely. I'm so glad you guys could be here for this. Woohoo! Okay, wow, wow. Yay, I have a centerpiece. Okay, from point to point, we measure final 45 centimeters or 18 inches across. 18 inches is a lovely size for a centerpiece, I'm going to say. This is great. I'm just delighted. Okay, so 18 inches, like almost exactly, 45 centimeters from point to point. And that is ready to go in the middle of my table. So that is how you take our Sunburst baby blanket pattern and easily turn it into placemats. I would say row 9 or row 10, depending on how big you want your placemat. So that's a good placemat. And then you could do the same edging with that single crochet if you wanted. This is 12 rows of the pattern So 7, 8, 9 was repeated only once with a row of single crochet all the way around. And that's my new table centerpiece for the holidays. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We will keep an eye on our community tab. We hope to do some more live streams this week. We will let you know as soon as we know, time allowing, when we are going to do that. And we will post that information in the community tab at least an hour or so ahead of schedule. And we're going to try and do them at the same time every day. So if we do get a chance to do them, they'll be at 11 a.m. because that's when we're assured basically of the best lighting. I know that sounds funny, but we like I like to use as much daylight, good solid daylight as possible, and that sort of assures us of the best possible lighting. So we're going to try and aim for 11 a.m. Eastern when we have our live streams this week, and we will keep you posted as to when our next one is. We're hoping tomorrow, so fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes, but we will post in the community tab that information. Later on today, I'm going to get a photo of this up there with some pattern notes. So if you want to make one for yourself, this took 2 hours. This took 2 hours from start to finish, and I'm crocheting with practically a broken wrist because it's all swollen up. So I feel like I was moving at a fairly moderate pace. So I feel confident in saying you could make one of these in 2 hours. It's a nice, easy repeating pattern. Free written pattern on our website. Link is in the description. Please avail yourself of the free patterns on our webpage. Thank you to all of you. And the original video tutorial is also linked down there if you want to see that too. I'll also add the tutorial link to the 12-point Christmas tree skirt version of this pattern. We did a tree skirt version of this, which is my tree skirt. And I'll make sure that video tutorial is linked in the description box as well. Thank you, everybody. We will talk to you very soon. Stay safe and crafty. Have a lovely afternoon. Have a wonderful evening. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see you tomorrow.